Hello, my wonderful students. I welcome you back to the class today. The topic before us today is punctuation marks part 3. That's a continuation of what we have been learning. Alright? Before we proceed, I want you to make sure that you do away with all forms of distractions around you. Get your writing materials and get ready for the class. Alright? Now, before we move to the topic of today, let's do the correction of last week's assignment. Alright? The first question on the assignment is, question marks are used with what kind of sentences? What kind of sentences? And the answer is, question marks are used with interrogative sentences. So you note that down, interrogative sentences. The next one, use the question marks appropriately in 2 sentences. I have done that in my answer here. Will you be joining us tonight? I've made use of the question mark. You can't be serious. Can you? I've done that here using question mark, question tags, and I've placed my question mark at the back of it. The third one, what must be used with a comma to join 2 independent clauses? What must be used with a comma to join 2 independent clauses? You can see the answer. A coordinating conjunction must be used with a comma to join 2 independent clauses. And when we say coordinating conjunction, it deals with and, but, or, so, for, no, or yet. Okay? So let's move to the next question. Use the comma appropriately in 2 sentences. I've done that in my answer here. I enjoy swimming. You can see my comma. Hiking and riding my bicycle. Look at another one. Either Tom, comma, Bill, comma, or Jeff or Mike will lead the seminar. Okay? Now to today's business. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to state the symbol of the punctuation marks we'll look at. You should be able to state the uses as well of the punctuation marks, and you should be able to use the punctuation marks appropriately in sentences. Alright? So now let's move on. Today the 2 punctuation marks before us is the colon and the semicolon. The colon and the semicolon. We're going to look at the 2 one after the other. Let's look at the colon. This is the symbol of the colon right here. The colon is a punctuation mark consisting of 2 equally sized dots. 2 equally sized dots centered on the same vertical line. 2 equally sized dots, you can see it here, placed on the same vertical line. Alright? The colon indicates a break between 2 main clauses, which is stronger than a comma, but weaker than a full stop. So we are saying that a comma also indicates break between 2 main clauses, just like the comma does, but it is stronger than a comma and weaker than a full stop. Okay? It is mostly commonly used to introduce a list, but it can also introduce words, phrases, or entire clauses that complete the meaning of the clause that came before it. Alright? Let's see. The usage of the colon. How do we use the colon? You can use the colon to introduce a list. You can use colon in front of an explanation or a reason. You can use colon after introductory headings. You can use colon between 2 main clauses that are connected. Very important, connected. You can use colon in front of the second part of a book title. And you can also use colon to introduce direct speech. And the last one, you use colon to introduce other text. Alright, let's look at it one after the other as well. The first one, using colon to introduce a list. A colon can be used to introduce a list. For example, I use 3 colors. I've placed my colon here in introducing the list of the colors: green, blue, and pink. So you can see this colon right here is introducing the list of colors right here. Make sure you wear clothes made from natural fibers. I'm making use of my colon here again to introduce cotton, silk, and wool. Okay, the next one, using colon in front of an explanation or reason. Explanation or a reason. Another usage of the colon is placing it after a statement and before an explanation. Note that after a statement and before an explanation of the statement. Okay? For example, nevertheless, the main problem remained. What should be done with the 2 men? Now look at it. Nevertheless, the main problem remained. That is the statement, right? And we said after the statement. So our colon comes after the statement. Nevertheless, the main problem remained. Now, you said before an explanation of the statement. So it's coming here before the explanation. This is the explanation of the statement. What should be done with the 2 men? And so our colon comes before it. Okay, I hope you got that. I decided against going away this weekend. Okay, that's the statement, and we have our colon coming before the explanation. The weather forecast was dreadful. That's the reason now, not explanation in this case, a reason. The weather forecast was dreadful. Alright? The third one, using colon after introductory headings. Introductory headings. Cooking time, colon, about 5 minutes. Start time, we have our colon, 10 o'clock. So these are introductory headings. We make use of what? The colon. Number 4, using colon between 2 main clauses that are connected. 2 main clauses that are connected. Remember I said you should note this word, connected. If the 2 clauses are not connected, there's no essence, there's no need to use the colon. It made me feel claustrophobic. Then you have the colon. I wonder what will happen to someone who was really unable to tolerate being locked into such a tiny space. And you can see our colon right here between the 2 main clauses. Okay, look at it again. Be patient. The next book in the series has not yet been published. So you can see our colon right here again, introducing or connecting the 2 main clauses. Alright, the next one, using colon in front of the second part of a book title. Farming and Wildlife, a Study in Compromise. This is a book title, Farming and Wildlife. Then we have the second part of the book title. We have our colon right here. Look at another one, Beyond Single Words. This is a book title as well. A colon before the second part of the book title. The most frequent collocations in spoken English. Number 6, using colon to introduce direct speech. He said, you owe me $3.25. You can see our colon here. In a direct speech, he said. So the colon right here is introducing the direct speech that was said by the subject. You owe me $3.25. The health minister said. You can see it's a direct speech. We are introducing direct speech now. The IT program will provide access to more comprehensive information. Number 7 now, using colon to introduce other text. While we mostly commonly use colon to introduce lists, there are also instances in which they can be used to introduce words, phrases, clauses, or even multiple sentences that help or explain or illustrate the previous clause. What are we saying? Look at this example. One thing is for sure, we aren't going to get a better deal than the one they are offering today. This is our colon right here, introducing other words. Other words, you can see them here. One thing is for sure. So this one here right here is introducing these phrases here. Okay? Look at another one. Let's get something straight. You can see our colon here. Now introducing other phrases. We are not at an equal level. I'm the boss. You are an employee of this company. So what I say is final. So you can see the essence of the colon. Okay? Now, you need to note something. Spaces after a colon. Whenever we use a colon, it will be followed by a single space before the list or other information. In other words, always use just one space after a colon. After your colon, look at this for example. This is my colon right here, and I have my space. Can you see? There must be a space in between here before the next word will follow. Okay? Except when writing times, ratios, or citation. Take for example, I'm writing 3:4. I don't need the space at all. I don't need the space. Or I'm writing time. The time is 3 o'clock. I don't need my space. Okay? So, I don't need the space when you're writing time or making citations. Alright? Now let's move to the next one. The second punctuation mark we're considering today. The semicolon. Here we have the symbol. The semicolon or semicolon, you can write it like this or like this. They are both acceptable. The semicolon is a symbol commonly used between two closely related independent clauses, provided they are not already joined by a coordinating conjunction. Okay? The semicolon is often described as being more powerful than a comma, although semicolons function in ways similar to both commas and periods. I hope you remember periods. That's the full stop. So we are saying that semicolons function in a way that is similar to comma and period, but they do not have the exact function of either. They are stronger than a comma, but weaker than a period. Okay? So it is not always appropriate to substitute one for the other. You cannot use a semicolon where you're supposed to use a comma, and you cannot use a semicolon where you're supposed to use a period. That's what we are saying. Now the use of a semicolon. The semicolon is used to mark a break between two main clauses when there is a balance or a contrast between the clauses. Very, very important. When there is a balance or a contrast between the clauses. For example, the engine roared into life. You can see the propellers began to turn. The plane taxied down the runway ready for takeoff. So you can see the use of the colon, the semicolon is creating a balance, a contrast between the clauses. Alright? One way to know when to use a semicolon is to ask yourself whether the two clauses could be written instead as separate sentences. Yes, you look at the two clauses you are joining together with the semicolon and find out if the two clauses could be written separately as a separate sentence. Then, if your answer is yes, then you can use a semicolon. Note that it is quite acceptable to use a full stop in these cases, but a semicolon is preferable if you wish to convey the sense of a link, very important, a link or a continuity between the clauses in your piece of writing. So we are saying that if you want to convey a link, a continuity between the clauses, you make use of the semicolon. Look at this example. I'm not that interested in jazz. I prefer classical music. Now look at these two clauses. They can be written separately. But we are trying to create a link, a continuity between the two clauses. And so we make use of what? The semicolon. He knew everything about me. I had never even heard of him. There is a kind of link between the two clauses, and so we make use of the semicolon. Okay? Now, when are we to use a semicolon? A semicolon is also used to separate items in a list, especially if the listed items are phrases or clauses which may already contain commas. Look at this example. The holiday was a disaster. We have our colon introducing the list. Don't forget that. The fight was 4 hours late. You can see our semicolon now. The hotel, which was described as luxury, was dirty. Semicolon again. And it rained all through the night. So you can see the colon is introducing the list, while the semicolon is separating the items in the list. And that's because the item listed already contain commas or phrases and clauses. I hope you understand this. Now do not use semicolons with dependent clauses. Do not use, I repeat, do not use semicolons with dependent clauses, due to the fact that dependent clauses rely on independent clauses to make sense. Okay? The link between them must be expressed by either a comma, that's if a dependent clause is used at the beginning of a sentence, or no punctuation at all if a dependent clause comes after an independent clause and does not require a pause. Look at this example so that you understand what I'm saying. Whenever I travel to Paris, I always stay in the same hotel. Whenever I travel to Paris, I always stay in the same hotel. Now, the two clauses here, we have a dependent clause here and an independent clause here. Okay? They are both together. And so we cannot use a semicolon here because this dependent clause is depending on this one in this independent clause to make sense. And so a semicolon is not advisable. It will be very, very wrong. Look at this. Whenever I travel to Paris, and then place your semicolon, I will always stay in the same hotel, is incorrect. That's why it has been marked as incorrect. Okay? Now, references for further studies. As we have come to the end of today's lesson, you want to learn better and learn more. You can go through these references. New Concept English by AUC & Co. That's your English language textbook. And then there are some links here. Just click on it. As you can see, as I'm placing my mouse, my cursor on it, it's bringing out the link. Okay, can you see? And then the same thing applies to this link as well. This is another link, and this is a YouTube link where you can watch more on semicolon and colon. Alright, so we have come to today's lesson, to the end of today's lesson. The following are the assignments you will do. State 2 uses of the semicolon. Use the semicolon appropriately in 2 sentences. State 2 uses of the colon. And number 4, use the colon appropriately in 2 sentences. Submit your answers to the following email. Submit your answers to this email. Make sure you write it out without any error. Alright? So we have come to the end of today's lesson. It's nice having your attention. Thank you for being part of this class. Good day.